Morning.
Audio going.
Hey, there you go.
My headphones gonna be a little too geeky. I'm afraid my microphone's not very good on this computer sometimes.
I think your microphone's great. I actually need a microphone, and I think it's a bummer because the host's audio can't be worse than my guests.
Uh,
I feel like each episode it has been. So
yeah, no, I had a Zoom call, the one I was doing with pole gyms, and I noticed that a couple of times the my audio cut out. I had to restart my computer, so I
oh,
think it's my hardware. So I didn't want to have to interrupt our talk today.
cool. Is that wireless?
It is wireless, yeah. It's a
Oh,
Jabra. It's really nice. I can have my phone and computer up at the same time, and um, it works. Yeah, it works.
cool.
Yeah, I didn't bring my lights, but that's okay. It's gonna be all right.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You look fine.
Thanks, man. You look fine too.
Cool. Oh,
Good.
dude. So I'm curious as to how many you've watched.
So I'm actually only seen the one. Did you post the other ones?
I have three up.
Do you
Yeah.
really? Are they on your site or on your channel or both?
Not on my site yet. They're on my YouTube channel, and I've been meaning to sit down and throw them. It takes couple
Just
clicks.
a couple seconds, yeah. But let me check it out real quick. ADHD
I think it's
addictions.
I think it's now Colin Everett. I think I've
Oh,
changed it.
oh,
Uh,
did you really,
I
Colin?
did, yeah.
Oh, okay,
I
so
just
no
thought
longer.
it would be easier to find me more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there you go, man. I like it.
David Brown and Cameron.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've seen the first one. I didn't know you had posted the other ones yet.
Cool. Yeah.
You know what? I'm actually gonna do what everyone should do, Colin. I'm gonna change my subscription to be notified of all your uploads.
Sure.
So there we go. So
Yes, that's
if
what.
anyone's watching this, go to Colin Everett on YouTube. Go to the right-hand corner,
Yeah,
click subscribe, and click all.
for sure.
That's my
Yeah.
little promo.
Well, I'm gonna be putting our stuff in the bio as well. Salem
Yeah, awesome, bro.
Roundtable.
Yeah,
Um,
roundtable.
uh,
Thanks, man.
Salem Ecclesia. Do you want me to? Uh,
Ecclesia. Yeah, SalemEcclesia.com is cool. Salem ICI, appreciate
sure.
it, man. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
send you all those. But
Totally.
yeah, put that in the bio is awesome.
Cool.
It's good
Right
stuff.
on. So I didn't prepare anything for our talk. I just kind of want to.
I was hoping not, man.
Yeah.
I was
Sit
hoping
down.
not.
I'm excited because we haven't spoken on film since our first episode of Salem Roundtable.
And you want to know what I loved about that? It probably is my favorite episode because I've been feeling like I wanted to do this for a while, right? Host a show. And actually, I have a thing. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but I don't know where the Salem Roundtable is going to go. But I said I want to do at least 100 episodes, like just
Yeah.
as a goal, and see where it goes, and really get into the politics and leaders and community people, activists. Just get to know Salem first as a personal goal of ours as we partner that, but also just to say, I'm not going to dabble. I want to go all in and just see what happens here.
Yeah.
But that day that happened, that day we were going to interview, I think. Dr. Mannock, I think it was my first Dr. Mannock interview, and something happened. He couldn't show up, or someone didn't show up, and I remember just thinking, man, I
We did
really want to do this. And you're like, why don't you interview me today? And I was like, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that was my favorite so far. I mean, I really liked the last one I did because I felt really comfortable as I'm just kind of developing this too. But the interview with you was just so fluid.
Yeah.
Like I felt like we were on the same page from the minute we started talking, and how much I appreciate your art and your work on the film, and it just felt like we were just flowing back and forth. Um, I don't know if I mentioned you, but I watched Trip again the other day, the film you made. I
Oh,
I
cool.
love that film, dude. I
Thank
think
you.
it's such a great short, and I don't mean to just be promoting. I'm not in that. By the way, Colin didn't tell me to advertise for him, the
Sure.
YouTube channel, everything. But Trip is an amazing
Yeah.
film, dude.
Oh,
Yeah, it's an amazing film, man. And I sit in bed sometimes just watch it. I'll cast it up to the TV.
oh,
But our but that first time just talking with you about film and the things that you liked about film, like what I love is that I know you, have known you for a long time, but in that interview, I learned so much about you, about your passions, about your heart, about your creative process, especially. I thought was really amazing. And so that to me is like the moment, like I'll always remember that. Uh,
sure. I love
First.
I love drumming it up,
Yeah.
bringing all that to the surface in our talk. When was that shot? Was that October? Was that
It was something like September, October, right in there
yeah
of last year.
yeah
We kind of hung on to it for a while before we went live because of COVID. Things just kind of hit, but
yeah
it was really good. Yeah, thankful that was my first one. But I really love kind of where we're kind of could be going with the roundtable, and brings me a lot of joy, man, just to reach out to people in town and see what people are doing and talking to folks.
absolutely. Me too. I can't wait till CCTV opens up, back up to the public, and you don't have to rely on this form of communication, although it does
Right.
work.
It works,
Um,
yeah. It doesn't have the same level of intimacy and interaction because there's something about, reacting to people's body language and the movements that you can kind of get on Zoom, but you really miss it when you're not in person.
this is halfway between phone call and in person.
Yeah, it's about halfway there. That's a good way to put it.
Mm.
It's about halfway there, but I really prefer the in person. And by the way, any sense of when they are going to open it up? Because I can't wait to get back in the studio and do some more interviews.
Until further notice is what they have posted on their website and everything.
Mm,
I don't even know if I could go in and get equipment. Thank the Lord for his provision in giving me a MacBook Pro,
yeah,
which replaces the one that CCTV would loan out. Huge shout out to CCTV, by the way.
huge
Um,
shout. Yeah,
they are so incredible.
they are.
They require like 3 or 4 $25 classes for you to take their camera class, their editing class, their studio, and once you take that, you are certified, and you can use. I think it's up to a year. I think it's kind of every year you just go in and renew. I think I'm good till August, and
Gotcha.
and they are so trusting of the people of Salem to be careful with their equipment. I mean, when you sign for their equipment, it lists like the price for everything, and
How much you talking about when you take out a camera and a
40,
computer with it?
$4,500.
4,500. Wow, they're just letting you take that home for the week, for the weekend.
My trunk. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't even leave it in my trunk. I bring it right into my
Mm,
house, and I make sure it's like locked up in my garage or in my personal room.
mm.
Uh,
Well, and the quality of it is so good. Like I love this whole concept of public access because you're getting like studio grade, movie grade equipment. And when you came and filmed our seminar that one day, I
yes.
mean, it was such a better experience than just say having some kind of camcorder up or something. I mean, the
Yeah.
shots you got, but it's that level of equipment in the studio they have there. I had no idea, man. Like, it's probably the only studio in town. I mean, it's amazing.
I'm so glad. Did I introduce you to this place, or had you found it on your own?
No, actually, I had found it when I was about your age, and I was going to get certified to do stuff on it, and I didn't. But I handed it over to Joe, and so I told Joe about it. Joe got certified, and he
Oh,
ran a couple shows down there when it was a different location. But
dang.
yeah, Joe was a CCTV guy for a while.
Wow. Okay. So,
But you were the first person to bring me into a studio because
gotcha.
I had considered doing it when I was your age, quite a while ago. But uh, it was actually Joe did it, and then the first time I saw the studio, and I couldn't believe how exceptional it was. And I'll be honest with you again, just shouting out to CCTV. The staff there is amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
so helpful. The guys that came in and helped us on our first shot. I mean, just helping us with the camera placement, the mics, and just volunteering or not volunteering, but just giving their time without being asked.
Yeah.
I would have been lost without all that help.
Mm. Same. Yeah. There's a lot of things that they're helping us with that in film school I maybe spent a day on in class
Oh yeah, hadn't thought of
four,
it from that perspective.
4+ years ago.
Yeah. Hey, what's the difference to you between class and CCTV? Actually, I never thought about that, but things you learned in class versus what you're actually doing in CCTV. Is there a big delta or a small delta?
Hmm, good question.
Or both? Is it sometimes it's small, sometimes it's big?
I feel foolish at CCTV. I feel
Oh,
like
really?
I feel
Why do you feel foolish? You handle that stuff so well. What's the foolishness?
I'm glad I can give off that image
Yeah.
of knowing what I'm doing, but it. I think CCTV is so patient. They've
Mm,
been so patient with me for any droppings of the ball, any lack of knowledge. They would see it as a lack of training on their part, I think.
I like that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And CCTV, I talked to I talked to Luis. Luis came and helped us. He's been
Right, Luis.
yeah,
Yeah, Luis.
such a big help to us.
Yeah.
I at the beginning of a month, they always like pick the 24th of every month or something, and they would pick the classes for those days.
Mm,
And it was like it had just passed the 24th. It was like the end of a month, very end of a month. I brought it up to him. Hey, can we schedule just a intimate class? You, me, and Joey.
okay.
And let's just do a class that way instead
And
of
Joey, you mean Joey of Pipe Reel, right?
Joey
You're
speaking
okay.
of pipe reel.
Speak. Yeah, yeah.
And Louis said, no. He goes, no, actually, we don't really do that. You're just going to have to wait till the 24th. And I'm not one to ever take no for an answer. I at least am always going to try and find ways around it, if not actually trying. So I said to him, well, I've been taught in your guys' classes, and I learn much better if it's just you and me, and you are teaching me this thing. Because I got trained by AutoZone, and the training, when I tried working for them, I did for 7 months, but they would teach us how to run these certain machines, and there's a bunch of, and I'm back here doing this, trying to see what they're doing. I'm not getting trained. I'm not
Right.
getting trained at all. I'm
You're
like
just
the fly
watching.
on the wall.
Yeah, you're just watching.
And
Yeah.
I sensed the same type of energy from like the first couple of CCTV classes.
Mm-mm.
And I knew for the studio class I needed more. I personally just need to be taught things
No,
heavily.
yeah, no, I agree, and I love the analogy being a fly on the wall versus hands-on. But as you went to college, I mean, you have an undergrad degree in film and arts. Is the equipment different than what you were trained on? Is the modality different? Is it, or did you kind of have this environment at school where you had a studio and cameras and the editing, the real live? Because I think that live editing thing is so cool. Like, I think it was either for our interview or for Dr. Manox, watching Luis just, I think you asked him to do the live feed because we were missing somebody who couldn't come, maybe Nathan or something couldn't make it. But just that really cool, like just he's live feeding, he's going, you're watching, so he was kind of doing it for us.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all the same thing that you learned, or is it really just a whole different world?
Not different world, different. We didn't have any sort of a studio. We had a sound stage, but that
On
was
stage, yeah.
completely bare, no curtains. That was mostly for acting classes. That was that space. That was also where all of the equipment was held back into like a storage container with that big old, door that comes down.
Great sound effects. I love that.
Yeah, that's going to be more of a thing in this podcast.
Yeah.
They have an ADR room, which is the biggest thing to a studio in Compass. They also had a huge theater. They had like 50 rows of seats in a big old theater, which was really cool to play our movies on. But the ADR room, I actually wish CCTV had, because
Oh,
it
gotcha.
is a blocked off little, I don't know, small room inside of a room, and you have a microphone and a TV, and you can, for animation or a lot of films, even Hollywood films use additional dialogue recording ADR.
Right. Yeah. That's how you get that. Those sometimes you get really high quality sound. I mean, it's
Yeah.
amazing when you're listening to someone on the street with cars going by in a movie, but you can hear them perfectly clear. You're just like, whoa.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of times I notice it being matched up improperly.
Do you see that
Yeah.
in Hollywood films? Do you see
Yes,
that sometimes?
I do. Yeah.
It's crazy when
ADR.
you're trained in something that how aware you become of
Ooh.
it, where probably 99% of people wouldn't see it. But you go,
Yeah.
oh, dude, they didn't match that up, man.
Yeah. That's funny. People of trade. I'm interested in. I've always been interested in the trade groups that exist, and the experts within those trades, and the rookies within those trades, and those
Yeah.
dynamics and all that stuff. What's been your experience with trades? I know that you were construction.
I did for a little bit. It was really good experience for me. I worked with your
Yeah.
dad for a little bit. It was only a summer, but I mean, it just opened your eyes to like how things are made, and you come to appreciate. So when I worked for him, I was a hod, like I was definitely entry level. I was doing the hard work, and your dad was up on the scaffolding doing the cool work, right?
Yeah.
He was putting concrete and color on top of styrofoam, but I would never have known that there's a whole like veneer. It's probably the right word, but the outside of a house or a building can be made of styrofoam, right? Styrofoam glued onto plywood. Then you have chicken wire on top of that. Then you have
Wow.
concrete on top of that, and then you have some kind of color on top of that. And when it gets done, it looks like you got kind of this concrete facade. But if you were to hit it with a car or something, it's just styrofoam beneath it. But the shapes and designs you can get with that, just amazing. So kind of the process of seeing houses being built, even for a little bit of time, was really, really good for me.
Cool.
It changes things, right?
How much time was that?
Just about a summer, or maybe a little longer, maybe 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I worked for Dean, and your dad was on that crew. He was always riot.
For sure.
He kept the guys laughing. It seems to run in the family, I think.
So I have a question for you, and you don't have
Yeah.
to go into
Right.
if you don't want to, but
Yeah, hit me.
during your time during construction, my dad's mom passed away. She was hit
She
crossing
was.
crosswalk here in Salem on
Yeah.
17th,
She right.
and you witnessed my
I was
dad getting the information.
I
And it's
did.
such a rare moment for
It
me. The
is.
fact that you witnessed this is so really mind-boggling to me. At how why was it specifically you?
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, what happened is Rick Crossman, I think was his name. He came up to me and and asked me if I would be willing to drive Steve back home. I think we're up in Wilsonville or Portland or something, if I remember correctly. And I said, "Hey, of course, what's going on." And he said that he just got a call that Steve's mom was killed in a car wreck. And so, yeah, I watched the news be delivered to your dad, and the depth of his pain in that moment. And I ended up not driving him home; somebody else did. But it was surreal. Like those are the moments kind of sear in your mind, because you never really knew your grandma, right?
Never met
I
her.
mean, oh, never met her. Yeah, she
5 years
was.
before I was born. Casey was born.
Oh, wow, yeah. For some reason, I thought you were young, but I didn't realize you hadn't been born yet. But yeah, that's one of those moments you don't forget. They just kind of come up, and just like the depth of that moment, the pain of that moment, watching it and going, someone's life just took an entire like little left turn,
Yeah.
just unexpected. I think it was a young kid too, just not paying attention, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
He was just married and had Casey at 1, so he was probably 27 as opposed to my 25. That's great.
Gotcha.
That is, for me to be almost that age,
I know.
and my mom to be almost my grandma's age is
Yeah, it's something else, isn't it?
It's just scary. It's to think that the biggest loss in my life has not happened yet. The biggest pain in
Mm,
my life has not happened yet.
mm.
Is just like such a scary thought. It's
Well,
overwhelming at times.
it is overwhelming, and I don't know, I might kind of just ask about that. Not really challenge it per se, but more explore it because you've experienced a lot of pain in your life, actually. First, I can see you'd be a young man, and I think at your age, you've actually experienced enormous amounts of pain that you've walked through. Going off to school and just things that you grew and learned and developed and experienced and did that were a part of who you were, the relationships you had, the ups and the downs of the good things about being away from home, the downside of being away from home.
Mm.
Again, this is just my perspective. You can push back, but the sense of feeling disconnected at times and then connected, and I think just really wondering what happens as I get through school and what happens next. And you shared some things with me. I didn't know, Colin. Like your first year of school was awesome, right? And after that, it wasn't the same. I mean, but you push through it. So um, certainly, different kinds of pain are coming. Life is pain. That's not a bad thing. But you have actually walked through a lot of pain, bro.
Yeah.
It's my
It's
sense of it. Is that fair?
it's interesting to me that a lot of my pain has come from decisions I've made, situations I put
Mm,
myself in. It's been mostly not like something out of my control happened to me, which is a lot of
mm,
people's case. Something
mm.
happened to them, mostly as a child, or growing into adulthood, whatever. Mine was choices that I decided to make because um, college, being in college allows for that freedom of uh,
Mm.
self control, especially being kind of grown up. Your first 19 years being one specific note, one specific religion. Um,
Perfectly said. One note. I love that, man.
and
Yeah.
when you're 19, hearing about all these like worldly pleasures,
Mm,
it does strike up a curiosity. And I remember just like exploding. Um, I remember my dad took me from Brazil to Oregon, and I felt like I was just itching for him to get back because I wanted to be, free, I guess. And the day after he left was my first time getting drunk. A couple months after that, I got high for the first time. Then I went to college, having dabbled and taken little nibbles, and then I go to like 3-course meals. Uh,
right.
you know,
There's some there's something kind of stereotypical, though, isn't there, about art school being a place where people explore and experiment too. But yeah, you talk about going from
yeah,
one note and from one very specific note when you talk about being in Brazil and being a missionary's child and those things that maybe the structure, the expectation, that at least in my experience may not always feel entirely right for someone who's as creative as you are.
mm,
And just because I think you're actually a very open person. You're open to the world, open to experiences, open to exploring. And so I think some of that was a little bit inevitable. Um, and I love what you said earlier, though. I really love that you said that there's um, the thing that happened to your grandmother is something that was a third party. It wasn't a choice she made, right? She wasn't joy walking, or she wasn't tightrope above New York buildings or something. She
yeah,
was just going for a walk or going to the store or something, and somebody hit her. And I like how you said that, that there were the things that you've experienced, you perceive them as things that you had some movement in. You were choosing, or you were doing something, or exploring, or something along those lines, versus happening to you.
yeah,
Yeah. And the idea of pain that happens to you is actually probably a little bit more scary, right? Because I mean, I think if you
mm,
say I've experienced a lot of pain in my life, but it's because of what I've done, you go, oh, well, I can kind of get that, right? But I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what's coming.
yeah.
So yeah, I kind of I kind of see that.
Yeah, there's a lot of pain I could have just avoided.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, a lot of pain. Certainly, if you'd made maybe other choices, maybe wouldn't have happened. Um, but I don't really know if you could have avoided them or not. To be honest with you, and we may not know, until
Yeah.
we get to the other side. But
Mhm.
what I love though is that uh, you never lost your heart.
Yeah.
You stayed with it. I
Yeah.
love that you persevered. You reached out not just to me, but you have a good network, of folks, a handful of folks. You reached out to. You stayed connected,
Mhm.
and you didn't lose your passion for creating.
Mhm. Absolutely. I think that my first little dabbling in well, okay, so in Brazil, pirating films is just more.
It's a national sport, bro.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Yeah,
It really is, and
yeah.
and I downloaded probably, man, just like hundreds of films, hundreds of movies, and
That's amazing.
and I watched them in my room late at night on my Mac, and like my
Wait,
first.
did your parents know about this? By the way, I'm just
Not
kind of
at all.
curious.
No,
So
no.
these hundreds of films you had, this little private library, these were all just on like your computer, or
Yeah, I just
and
cycle through,
which
watch,
was it? And
watch.
was it like the Pirate Bay, or was it more accessible than having to do streams?
Pirate Bay and Yi-Fi torrent, and I would
Yeah,
just torrent.
BitTorrent, right? So
Yeah.
so in Brazil, you were just everything was like readily accessible on BitTorrent, and the Pirate Bay was like a huge one
Mhm.
back in the day. I don't know if it still is there or not, but
Yeah, and
so
then
you had a whole collection.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry. So on your Mac, you had hundreds of films
yeah.
from the Pirate Bay, and then no one knew you had them. No one in your family.
No, no. Until I
That's amazing.
opened up to Kobe about it one time, because we were not allowed to watch certain films, and I told him about downloading. And I said, I just remember going, Kobe, I've seen all the X-Men, and he goes, no. He was so upset.
That's so great. Poor Kobe.
I know.
Kobe, love. If you watch this, love Kobe. Sorry,
Yeah,
you owe your brother.
I know. Yeah, I know.
That's so great.
We were usually, our film experience was usually always together. It was conjoined. We would just watch the same things.
You and Kobe,
Mm-hmm.
except for these couple hundred, three whatever films you had on your laptop that nobody knew you had.
Yeah, that was me going way off. I also watched like uh the entire series of Friends. I think I did
Oh,
Seinfeld that way too.
which one's your favorite? Like, what made you laugh the most?
Probably Friends. Friends is really funny at sometimes.
Friends is funny.
Seinfeld caught my attention because of the minute attention to detail. Man, like in humanity, in situational, the situational awareness with Seinfeld, and
Oh, you're looking at it from like a film student perspective.
yeah,
Yeah.
Larry David. I'm so attracted to Larry David's mind because
Yeah.
he was like the force behind Seinfeld.
Right. He
Um,
believed in it when nobody else did, right?
Yes, he did. It was his passion. And I've actually
Uh,
gone on to love Curb Your Enthusiasm. 10
yeah.
seasons. That show is all Larry David. What Seinfeld contributed to Seinfeld, I'm so happy is not in Curb, because
Mm,
Curb is like Seinfeld reorganized or resituated for my sense of humor.
Okay, so here's I have a commitment I have to make to you right now. I'm gonna commit to watching that. Everyone's told me it's like you've got to watch Curb Your Enthusiasm,
Oh, dude.
and I've got to start it and just kind of work my way through it with Jocelyn. But
Yeah, easy episodes. 30
yeah,
minutes.
yeah. When you were talking about Friends, my general sense is that, and this may sound a little weird, but Friends overall, like just overall, is funnier. But I think there are specific Seinfeld moments, like when he brings the Cubans over or the topics that they talk about, that there are certain episodes that are just the funniest of all. Like having the
Yeah.
Cubans in the drawer, like he's importing Cubans, and he literally imported Cubans to make
Yeah.
cigar, to make Cuban cigar. I know something about those episodes. You just cry and laugh so hard. And again, there are those like, moments like that in Friends, but I think Seinfeld has my favorite episodes.
Cool. I'm glad you like it that much.
Oh, dude. And especially like I went back and started watching at one point season one, and you realize like, yeah, it's okay, but it doesn't get really funny for me until you get into the later seasons when the characters like Kramer, they really start developing and getting like their timing right, and it's
Uh,
so
what
hilarious.
seasons would that be? Would that be like 3, 4?
Yeah, in my memory, I'd have to go back probably check. I'm thinking about season three. It really started kind of kicking in for me.
Gotcha. That would
Yeah,
be interesting to watch both at the same time.
yeah.
Do like
And I
an
just compare
episode.
them side by
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
Yeah,
Episode of Curb, episode of Seinfeld. You know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Oh, and just watch the development of the characters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it would be good. I
Yeah.
thought you were saying Friends and
Oh,
Seinfeld
oh,
side by side. Yeah, I can't wait to watch Curb. I know you've told me this before, and other people have, so I'm going to start
sure. Do you
watching an
have
episode.
HBO? You got
I
HBO?
if I don't, I might grab it. Is it just available there?
Yes,
Okay,
unfortunately,
yeah, yeah, I'll grab it for a couple months. It's fine.
for sure.
That's cool. So you had friends, you were saying, in Brazil, and you had Seinfeld. So you were watching those shows, and how you must have been what 16, 15?
I was 16 to probably 19.
Oh, okay, you didn't leave Brazil till you were 19.
Yes,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
a month after I turned 19. And I'm actually, I am ultimately happy with um, having made those decisions at 19 on my own terms. Instead of having it be like starting at 16 in Brazil and having it be like a screaming match between my parents and I about that one crazy night I had or something. I'm glad that it was done. I'm glad it played out the way that it did ultimately.
What specifically are you referring to? Like coming home at 19, or what was a screaming match? Were you thinking?
Drinking, smoking type of stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
Those type of
You're
things.
you're glad that you started exploring that when you were 19 versus being in the home in Brazil, in the field, and having to deal with that there.
Because that
Yeah,
could
but
have
this
been
is
big, like that could have been bigger.
huge.
Yes, it could have been reported to ABWE, and you know,
Yeah, but you're really thoughtful about that kind of stuff. You know, what's interesting is, enough the word that as mischievous as you are, you're actually a very thoughtful, mischievous person.
yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
love that.
it's that same
Yeah.
thoughtfulness that goes into the. I'm a sneaky person. I
Mm,
know how to not get caught. I think.
mm. It's a gift, as Monk says.
Yeah,
It's a gift and also a curse, right?
and also a curse, just like Monk. Yeah.
Just like Monk. No, that's so good. But I think like when I talk with you, I get a chance to really like just debrief, and I see like what you were exploring. I mean, uh, I think you've always been an out of the box thinker, right? You just always see the world from a little different perspective. And when you're in a conservative environment, that's kind of hard. And I grew up in a conservative environment too. I'm not anti that at all. But a lot of times when you have a heart that's really open and a mind that's really wants to explore, it feels like you're always like fighting and you're bouncing up against the walls and trying to figure this out. So I think going sometimes and exploring is almost necessary to kind of come and find that place where you land, where you feel grounded.
Yeah.
and to who you are, right? Who God made you to be.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's a process still going on, you, me, and but yeah, I see it. Like, I mean, here you are in Brazil, and you've got the awareness and the technical ability, to download hundreds of movies and watch them. But what does that say about who you are? And I don't mean like the mischievous side. I mean, what does that say about who you are? It says one, obviously you love film. I mean, you were studying film before you studied film,
True.
right?
True. I remember my first ones that I downloaded were like Superbad and Role Models.
Mm.
Which,
Super bad. Yeah.
yeah,
And role models too, huh?
yeah,
So good.
teen comedies,
Totally. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But I explored every genre
Mm.
and uh, really dove into film.
Yeah.
Like you said, before I went to film school. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That
But
was
I remember you telling me, I think you wrote your first screenplay at 8 or something like that, right?
Mhm.
I mean, isn't that crazy that you just kind of, it seems like, certain people, you're not surprised that, you know them in kindergarten and they're really into math or science, and you're not surprised when they become a physicist, right?
Yeah.
Or you see someone, Jocelyn had a kid that dressed up in like a suit and tie in kindergarten. He becomes a politician. You go, oh yeah, of course, right? But here you are at a very young age. You're creating films and videos in your mind. I mean, it just seems like thus far you've been on the right path. Like this is kind of how you were wired, by God, by your genetics to express yourself in the world. At least one element of you. I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of it hasn't been uncovered yet, but I mean, yeah.
Well, I think that heavily correlates to pre-field. Because,
Mm.
oh, dude, like, I get overwhelmed.
Of course.
I get overwhelmed at the thought of nobody besides me understanding the experience of what pre-field was for me.
Oh,
Does that
yeah,
make sense?
it does. So, and pre-field is the work you do, like when you're raising support to be a missionary in the field. You have to visit um, lots and lots of churches, right? And a
Hundreds.
lot of hundreds, and you have to meet with hundreds of people, right? Did you used to sing in those or something like that? Did
Yeah,
you? Okay,
constant,
yeah,
all the
I
time.
remember that. Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
I just want to be a sheep. Ba, 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 ba.
Did you really sing that? Did I hear once? Did you sing DC Talk once?
Yes,
Did you like Jesus Freak or something?
I did. Uh,
I so love you for doing
I did that at a old folks home one time.
that. I am not worthy. I am not worthy. Please tell me you have a film of that someplace.
No,
Please.
no.
I remember someone telling me the story that you got up in front of an old. I remember that now that you mention it. I was old folks home, and you sang DC Talk like Jesus Freak. I would love to have seen that. Please tell me you raised some support out of that.
Well,
Or was that just a ministry you guys are doing? Maybe not very.
Monica and my grandpa, Paul,
Yeah, yeah.
they asked me because I did a play
Right.
and I sang The Little Drummer Boy.
Is this all? Is this all before Brazil? Right.
Yeah,
The drummer boy, the play.
I
Okay.
was probably 8 or 9. Yeah, yeah. I was probably 9, closer to 9. And they asked me to come to an old folks home and sing The Little Drummer Boy.
Mm.
So I was like, yeah.
Hang on. Pastor Paul, that's how I know him.
Mm-hmm.
You call him Grandpa Paul, but Pastor Paul and Monica asked you to come to an old folks home and sing the Little Drummer Boy, like the Christmas song. Like,
Yes.
come they told me, pa rum pum pum. Okay.
Yep.
And then what happened?
So your nephew, Stephen Castaneda,
Yeah.
was one of my closest friends growing up before Brazil.
Right.
I
Yeah.
still remember the traumatic view of seeing him sob at the airport saying goodbye.
Oh wow, that's sweet. Yes, Stevie's a great guy.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Stevie.
Shout
He
out.
watches, bro. I love you, man.
Yeah. Um, I told Stevie, I'm going to be famous after, this is my concert. I'm putting on a concert is what I saw it as. So I prepared a playlist. I prepared songs. I was like, I'm going to do Little Drummer Boy, Jesus Freak, and Carmen, and a Carmen song.
Who was the third? The third one was Carmen.
Carmen, what's that song of his?
Like Sundays on the Way or something.
In the house.
Oh, Riot or something like that. Yeah, Who's in the House? JC. Oh yeah, that's so good. So you had, wait a second, and this is of course before you had an agent to tell you how to do your song selection, right? Like,
yeah.
So you had Little Drummer Boy.
Yeah.
Then you went to grunge rock hip hop with DC Talk, and then you went just straight rap with Carmen. Who's in that? Did you get through all three songs?
No, they cut me off.
What did they cut you off at?
They cut me off before Jesus Freak ended. He was like,
whoa, that feels like that's wrong, man. Like, how do you cut off in the middle of Jesus Freak? I just gotta say, it's probably like my favorite album of all time is Jesus Freak. And not just because of what it was in Christian music. Like, to me, it's such a seminal album, a fusion of different styles. Just great creativity from DC Talk, and of course, they did one more album and broke up. But I love Jesus Freak, so someone cutting off the song feels like it's a sin, man.
Yeah, they only did the 2 albums.
No. They had several albums before Jesus Freak, but after Jesus Freak, that was the huge one. Then they did Supernatural, and I think the band broke up right after that.
I love Supernatural.
It's a good album, man.
Yeah.
It's a good album, yeah.
Great album.
I went to the Supernatural tour, actually, in Texas, but yeah, it was so fun. Those guys were so good in concert, but I'm still dying that they cut you off. I'm sorry.
Nobody clapped. Not a single. They sat there like this.
If I'd been there, I would have rushed the stage, man.
Yeah. I don't remember.
I love this scene. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to. I love this scene in my mind. I'm trying to picture it. How many people were in the room? Talking like hundreds or dozens or like
upwards of 20.
Okay, so nice crowd for a retirement. So you did the Drummer Boy, and then the next playlist. So were you singing along with the CD or something?
Yes.
Okay, then you
brought my CD player, pop it in. Mike, he attended Faith at that time, told me, I don't think he cut me off, but he told me to turn it down. So I had to, I think gotcha. Monica
that's better.
Turned down the volume or something like that. And then it came to a close. But I committed to the raps, though. Saw a man with a big fat belly wiggle around like mama's belly. It took me a while to catch what he said because I had him at rhythm on the belly with my head.
Jesus Saves is what it's a typical tattoo green. Yeah. No, it's a classic song. And I love, by the way, I'm so happy that you did that to the old folks home, man. I think you just made my whole day, man. Thinking about that. It's just amazing, bro. So we're talking about field, and you're saying that no one really knows what it's like to do pre-field work, and it didn't sound like it was kind of heavy. Like, was it heavy for you as a kid?
I think my world was schoolwork. We're talking 5 to 11 ages.
Well, wait a second. You guys did 6 years of pre-field?
Yes.
So that's like having 6 years. Would you call it 6 years like instability? I mean instability family-wise, but like not being at the same church every Sunday, not just always on the road, right? Always new people. Is that what it felt like, or?
I remember.
How would you describe that?
I remember a lot of time being in Salem.
Okay.
I don't remember how often we would schedule out. I don't think that we were I think we did it in seasons or something. Maybe it was year round. I can't
remember
because
exactly.
My world was Salem, and then being on the road, and we had this big old van, and we had our TV video games, VHS DVD player, and that was my world, was the movies. We'd watch 6 movies in a 12-hour trip.
Oh, now was that so? Was that really was that cool to you? Was that good to watch the movies, or was that
It was a lifesaver because I didn't have to pay attention to the drive.
yeah,
So
gotcha.
we'd all beforehand decide on movies.
Yeah,
Okay, we're going to bring 5. We have to agree on 5. And then
right,
we bring whatever we agreed on, watch them on the way back, because our trips were anywhere from an hour to 12 hours was, I think, our longest.
right. No, that makes sense. Yeah, so you guys would watch those on the road, and then what was the worst thing and the best thing about field work,
We broke
pre-field?
down constantly.
Oh, wow.
Our
What was the
van would break down all the time, and we were usually blessed by either police officers who would help, church members who would help, or random strangers who would help us. We were helped a lot on the side of the road with our
wow,
vehicles. Hmm.
wow. That had to be impactful though for you to kind of see the goodness of people in that sense.
True.
You think?
True. Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't think I think you're right. I don't even think I realized how hard that must have been for you from 6 to 11,
Mm.
or maybe disorienting or something to be on the road that much.
I
I really
love
admire. Oh, go ahead.
I love when people are surprised that I was homeschooled up until college,
Right.
because I was still very socialized.
Hmm.
Hundreds of churches as a child, and then going to Brazil and having to like communicate with people for 8 years, really only speaking the language 5, 6 of those years.
Yeah, I actually forget you were homeschooled, to be honest with you, because homeschools, typically go in two different directions, right? Really kind of isolated, maybe feels a little esoteric, kind of little Amish community
Mm.
kind of feel, right? Or you can really have an incredible experience at homeschool of being socialized, of learning like deep and profound things. And there's not a lot of people in, say, the public system that get to visit as many places as you have visited, and who get to go to Brazil for 8 years, learn another language and another culture, and then come back and go to film school. I mean, on the scale, that's better socialization than most people in the public system would get by a long shot.
True.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Yes, 6 to 11 is pre-field. 11 to 19, you're in the field for 8 years. But those 11 to 19 is pretty developmental, man. That's your tweens and teens, and forming some probably pretty awesome relationships out there.
Absolutely.
And then
I
coming back.
I am really happy to have shattered my sheltered mindset after leaving Brazil.
Yeah.
That is a point I wanted to make earlier that I'm just now remembering.
Oh,
Um,
gotcha. You have shattered it.
yes.
It is in the dust.
Yeah.
Well said, Colin. I love that. So if I had to say, if I was a biographer and I was looking at, and I was trying to categorize like what I know about you, and this, even now I'm learning stuff about you. I know we talk a lot, but you kind of had, say you were born to age 5 is one thing. 6 to 11 is a distinct season in your life where you were homeschooled, but you're on the road traveling. It's the pre-field work. And then you transition again from 11 to say 19. And that's another season for you, man, like just a whole different season.
Mm-hmm.
And then from 19 to, I don't know when you started film school, but somewhere you may have had a small one, and then film school is another season. So it seems like you've had 4 kind of really distinct movements in your development. Does that feel right in there? Or do you see the same thing, or how would you characterize that?
I'll say 19 to 24 was Michigan. That's a phase.
Yeah.
Michigan. And then 25 now.
Right. So you're
Uh,
and on, right? It's a different phase.
yes.
Yeah. Is it fair to say that maybe now at 25 and on in this period that all the previous seasons are starting to play out a little bit. That you're integrating all that
Yeah.
stuff from your homeschool, from being on the road, from being in Brazil, from being at school. So you kind of have this really interesting column, like you're building, and now, wow, you're doing something, and all of that plays into what you're doing now.
Mm. Yeah, it's all added up to an equation.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's interesting.
yeah.
I always feel, I'm going to say 3 days before my birthday. This is what starts to happen is I feel this happened with 23. This happened with 24. It's also happened with 25. 3, 2, 1 days before my birthday, I feel this internal shift. Almost like my body is I am acknowledging physically that my birthday is here, and there's some sort of a mindset, some sort of new wisdom or new information or desire to be challenged is placed on my heart and mind, and then I start my new year with that on the forefront. That happens.
That's so interesting, man. Where do you feel of that? Like when you say you start to feel it in the body, like where, say 3 days before your birthday, where is that?
So 3 days before my 23rd birthday, I'm not taking any more shit.
Okay, so it wasn't so much in the body, but you got this attitude like, I'm finished. And what was that relationship? Were you being pushed around a little bit, or were you just done with how you were being treated a certain way, or what was that? I'm not taking any more shit. What was that coming from?
It came from a film. It came from a film that I watched late at night going into my birthday. And it was the film to watch right there, because this body-mind transition had already been thinking about this. And then I wish that I could remember the film from my 23rd birthday that I watched, but it was a character who had stopped taking things and started to give a little pushback to the world, to strangers around him, to family members who were overbearing, to coworkers who were, who, I don't know. My 24th birthday, I wish I could remember right now. I'm going to remember it later.
Yeah, I remember. But so when about 3 or 4 days before your birthday, like for your 23rd, it was more like an attitude, something welled up inside you said, I'm not taking any more shit. I'm done. And then, but sometimes you said you feel it in the body, like something actually, is it typically an attitude shift, or is it some pain, or is it like a revelation of some sort, or all the above?
I think it's a surge of like confidence, maybe testosterone. I tend to like have waves with testosterone, and I can sense sometimes when it's high. My fingernails will also grow extremely fast.
That's awesome, really. That's so cool.
And hair, and other signs are. I'm like, oh, I'm in an up phase right now. It's really. I walk differently. I talk to women differently. Just with more confidence and goofiness and less timidity.
Yeah. Testosterone's a wonderful drug, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
No. Oh, that's really cool. Actually, I think you might have mentioned this to me before, but I never really connected with that sense of what happens right around your birthday, and then that's really cool, dude. That's really cool.
Well, in the sense of keeping it to an hour, you are my fourth guest, my fourth episode. Thank you so much.
Oh, you too, Colin. Thanks for having me. I want you to know, man, I love you, bro. You are.
You too, man.
You're right here, man. You're down home.
Sure.
I love what you're doing, and I'll watch the other 2 episodes. I love the first one. I got through that, I think, yesterday, and it was really cool to just come on. Whenever we talked, I forget when it was, but I really love what you're doing, and more
Awesome, dude.
more of
Thank
this,
you.
man.
I need a part two with you with all 4 episodes. I'm thinking by the end of it, I need a part two with this person.
Mm,
So I think I'm just going to be recycling.
awesome.
That's this kind of. But as I have my days off, and even not days off, like I was willing to get up. I don't work till 2, so I want to schedule new ones and have a mixture of people coming back. So
Let's do it. I need a part two with you also for the roundtable. I
yes,
know that's our joint project, but I
totally,
thought the interview was so good. It was only like 22 minutes, and I think there's so much more to talk about when it comes to your loves and your passions, and maybe some of the current projects you're working on. The Salem show, right?
uh,
I know I said that wrong, didn't I?
what?
The pipe reel project right now.
Oh, that's the Salem show.
The Salem show, yeah, the Salem show.
Yeah,
That's some
right,
great stuff going on there, man.
for sure.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff to talk about, but man, thanks for the time today, Colin.
Absolutely. I love. I wish that we had spent a little bit more time on you. I always feel that's the case with David Brown or you. Is there's a lot of emphasis on me, and
Oh yeah, no, I think it's a back and forth. It wasn't, yeah, not intentional. I love that conversation we had.
cool.
But yeah, anytime, man, I'll be happy to do part two. We just talk about whatever.
Absolutely. I really want to talk about what's on your heart and mind,
No, sure.
your ongoings with oh, just what you're watching,
Mm.
staying safe in Corona. I kind of wanted to talk about Joss and kind of
Oh yeah.
the precautions you're taking for her
Oh
safety and
yeah, good.
stuff. So I'm sorry that we didn't get into that today, but a part two with you could happen soon. So
Part two. That sounds good, Colin.
sweet,
All right.
awesome.
I love you, bro. God bless you, man.
Later, bro. Peace.
Bye.